Tom Brady not only had a great game against the Bills last week, he also threw a great block. So does he have more to offer than just slinging the ball around?
Give him his credit.
You can ask Patriots linebacker and fullback Landon Roberts. Say what?
I think Tom really want to play special teams and stuff. He just ain't been able to yet and stuff like that. And defense, man. I feel like Tom be a good safety, man. Like that, you know, Tom get at the corner. Well, he might be a good linebacker, too, man. Tom stick his hand in. But right now, you know, I think Tom good where he at.
Landon Roberts would know he's a linebacker that now is their prominent fullback.
He is.
He's playing both sides of the ball this year.
Well, yeah, he's kissing up to Tom just a little bit so he can get one of those play-action passes or a touchdown. That's what he's doing. Everybody knows.
Every linebacker's dream.
Every linebacker, fullback's dream, catch the ball in the end zone.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
How do you play?
How do you play by Landon Roberts? Smart guy. Patriots always have smart guys. A bunch of college graduates. Smart guys.
Moving on to the NFC East now. According to Fox Bet, the Cowboys are favored by 10.5 against Washington, while the Eagles are 4-point favorites at the Giants. Philly is in the playoffs with a win. Dallas needs a win and an Eagles loss. Nick, which team do you have more confidence in, Eagles or Cowboys, heading into this weekend?
Chris, you always say we in the media aren't supposed to root, but you can root for your own predictions.
Right.
And I've taken that a little bit further. I root for my predictions and my guys or my teams. Like I still have teams that I root for. Neither are the Cowboys or Eagles. So I'm agnostic on the division we talk about the most. I just want good football. And for folks that root for good football and for well-coached and teams that play up to their ability, you don't have a great option as far as who's coming out of the NFC East. But the better option is the Philadelphia Eagles, and thankfully, they're also the more reliable option. Why would anyone have confidence in the Cowboys? And I get that they're playing Washington, and by the way, I think they'll beat Washington. But the idea that the Cowboys are some much larger favorites, which they are, over Washington than Philadelphia is against the Giants, it just belies all logic. Dallas started 3-0. Since then, they are 4-8. You know how many great or even very good NFL teams have ever lost 8 of 12 games in a season? I looked it up, 0. Whose math is that? Mine. Because if you lose 8 games over the course of a year, you're not very good, much less in a 12-week stretch. Philly, meanwhile, they haven't been great. I understand it. But they started 1-2. And since then, they're 7-5 with 1 bad loss. And it's a glaringly bad loss to Miami. But at least in that loss, the offense played fine. The defense just absolutely fell apart. So since their opening start, they are a respectable 7-5. Not a great 7-5, but a hell of a lot better than 4-8. So, of course, I have more faith in the Eagles than I do the Cowboys. I would be very, very surprised if Philadelphia loses to the New York Giants this weekend. I would be, it's a little surprising if the Cowboys lose to Washington. And meanwhile, the Cowboys need to beat Washington and Philly to lose to the Giants. It's just not happening.
I have more confidence in the Eagles because the NFL is all about what have you done for me lately. In the last game that the Eagles played, defense gave up 9 points, and their quarterback, who really all season long has struggled, ups and downs, has been inconsistent. He played 4 good quarters of football. And to me, that's important. Those 2 games prior to that against the Redskins as well as the Giants, he played 2 good quarters of football to combine, and they found a way to win overtime against the Giants, and they beat the Redskins. At this point, Carson Wentz is playing with confidence. He's playing with a bunch of guys that he respects and that respects him. He's getting support from Miles Sanders. And I think their defense has figured this thing out. They're facing a rookie quarterback this week in Daniel Jones. That's a great opportunity for the Eagles to win. Conversely, the Cowboys are facing a veteran quarterback in Case Keenum, who just throws the ball all over the place. They have a receiver that can go get it. Adrian Peterson is trying to break another rushing record because he's been in the league for 25 years. It's been impressive watching them do it. But I just think the Dallas Cowboys as a team are not together. They're fussing and fighting about contracts, what's going to happen next year. They're asking Dak questions about, what do you think about Jason Garrett? Well, I don't know. And now all the focus has not been on football for this team all year long. That's been one of the biggest problems. That continues this week.
I am going with the Cowboys. You know, and I disagree with you, Nick. A fan of good football, I want to see the Cowboys playing. And I know they haven't played good football most of the year. But who has the potential, with the Eagles as banged up as they are, getting into the playoffs? Who has, like, if they reach their ceiling, let's say the winner of the NFC East reaches their ceiling in the wild card game or the first round, who's got the higher ceiling?
the Cowboys.
Okay,
I will concede that point.
So
They don't have a ladder to reach their ceiling, though. What are you talking about? They haven't reached their ceiling
they reached it against
all
the
year
Rams.
long.
They reached it against the Rams, and they're due. They're due. Now, I've got more belief in the Cowboys. One, they're more talented, especially with the Eagles being so banged up. Two, I think Dak Prescott is going to learn from last week. His first time playing through a significant injury, so I think this week he'll be better. He'll know what he can and can't do more, so I like that. I also think Amari Cooper has to step up. You want this big contract. You were a no-show in our biggest game of the season. You were a no-show in New England for the most part. You need to step up. So I think Amari's going to want to have a big game. And you said it earlier, they got to give the ball to Zeke. You know, 13 carries against Philadelphia, big mistake. I think they rush him a lot, and he does well. And then I think Washington doesn't have as much. You brought up AP and all that stuff, but the Giants, whenever you put your young quarterback out there, Daniel Jones, you're going to want him to have a great game for next year. You know, you want to build up his confidence. So they're coming to play.
The Giants are playing for more than Washington. I agree with you in that regard.
Washington don't even want to win.
Shermer's trying to keep his job while the Washington's already fired their coach, right? So there's that element. But you said one thing there that made me smile, which is talking about an NFL team's potential in Week 17. Is the mother whose son's 34 years old, and she's like, I'm telling you, Johnny one day is going to surprise them. Nah, man, you kind of are what you are by your mid-30s. You are what you are by Week 17 in the NFL, and particularly what you've been lately. So the Cowboys are a great what-if of this season because it's not about injuries. It's not about Dak, all of it, like having a terrible season in the last 5 weeks. He hasn't been great. Over the totality of the season, Dak's at least lived up to expectations. It's a great what if they had great coaching. What if the Dallas Cowboys had the coaching that you see was from some of if you had the job Mike Tomlin has done from Mason Rudolph to Duck Hodges, back to Mason, back to Duck, with all of it. If you had that level of coaching this year in Dallas, are they 12-3 right now? Are they 13-2? They've been favored in 14 of their 15 games. The only game they were an underdog all year was against New England. How good could this team have been is, to me, the question. More so, when will they actually be as good as they could have been?
Which of these two quarterbacks, Brian, do you trust more? The guy who hasn't been able to practice because of his shoulder, or the guy who only in the last couple of weeks has played like 2017 Carson Wentz?
Well, a lot of the times in the NFL, it's about who's healthy at this point. And Carson Wentz has been healthy almost all season long. And at this point, Dak is just not healthy. And we saw last week, he missing throws down the field, wide open receivers, deep routes up. Tavon Austin overthrows him. Balls are high, balls are low. And he's just not healthy. We've seen Dak be accurate earlier on in the season. He wasn't that lately. He hasn't practiced yet this week. I just think that at this point, Carson Wentz finally is healthy. Finally, he has a group of guys around him that will go up and make plays for him, and that has not been the case in his entire career. At this point, I would have to go with Carson Wentz.
Well, first of all, you had to say that because of the way Jenna asked the question. Dak, the guy that's injured or the guy that's been great the last few. But I agree with you. Both
I could switch it and ask you a different way.
Carson Wentz has been better. There's no question about that. However, the thing is, Carson has to be better than Dak does for them to win. With what he has, his supporting cast, the running game. I know Miles Sanders and those guys have been good, but the running game, the receiving core he has, Carson has to be on his A game. Dak doesn't. I think they're going to give Ezekiel Elliott the ball a lot. He's got a better receiving core now that his is healthy. So I don't think he has to be nearly as good as Wentz does to win this game.
But both of these guys do have a very unique type of pressure on them. For Carson, it's, I finally won the type of game people have questioned if I can win. Now, as long as we don't spit the bit here, I get to play in one of the real games people have questioned me about, the playoffs. And if they lose, whether fair or not, people are going to say, really, Philly? Like you go through, you come back against the Giants, you come back against Washington, you dominate Dallas, and then you lose in Week 17 when you finally, for the first time all season long, control your own playoff destiny? Like, really, that's what's going to happen? Dak, on the other hand, man, Dak's been driving with an expired license for a year. And he's like, man, I'm getting the new plates in a week. I just got to avoid it. And he has rolled the dice and rolled the dice and rolled the dice. And now he's slightly injured, but not badly injured. And now his play has dropped off a bit, but it hasn't cratered entirely. He's got to get through one more game, and he has no doubt about it, even if it's just the franchise tag, generational wealth. His low end is $27 million, and his high end is $150 million. Unless something catastrophic happens this weekend. That is, you know what that type of pressure is, because you know, I can't imagine. Well, I wouldn't even want to leave my house. I wouldn't even, to come to this show, forget play football. I'd be like, nah, man, I get hit by a car, somebody run up on me. No, thank you.
But he's had that all season.
Right, why wouldn't he be thinking about that all
But
season?
it's closer now. He's closer to the finish line now.
He's gotten exactly right. Like now, I've done it all. I've run to 16-lap race. I've run 15 of them.
Yeah.
I just can't tear my hamstring on the last one. I imagine that's got to be, when you're at the very end of a contract year, it feels different than when you're at the beginning of a contract.
Well, listen, this is something that Dak has been hoping for his entire football career, his entire life, trying to get that generational wealth. He wanted to be the starting quarterback in the NFL, and that's nice. But getting the amount of money that he's about to get, that's something that you look forward to. And so that's something that he certainly has on his mind. If it's 3rd and 1 and they call a rollout, what do you think he's going to do?
That's what I'm saying.
Your receiver's kind of open, or I can run it, and I can get hit by the linebacker. I'm making a business decision.
He's going for the first
business
down.
decision.
He's Dak Prescott. He's doing the right thing.
Brian, stick around. Take a break. Coming up, are the Niners really the team to beat in the NFC? Next, first things first.
I'm making a business decision. There ain't no doubt about that. 100-something million.
Any comments, Doug?
Yeah. Only pay for what you need with Liberty Mutual. Only pay for what you need with Liberty Mutual. Con Liberty Mutual solo pagas lo que necesitas. Only pay for what you need. Only pay